Being a Gen Xer is the ultimate power move. Now, let me explain myself here. This is not just for musicians. This is for everybody out there. Gen X is a generation that kind of gets looked over, and if I get young people, putting troll like comments on my channel, it's generally they're calling me a boomer, and I'm not a boomer. I've embraced every form of technology that has come along. The badass survival skills of Gen Xers we've developed growing up without cell phones, growing up without the internet, growing up without cable TV, growing up listening to albums and cassettes. And I can even remember the early days of 8 track. And we have adapted as a generation to every cultural and technological shift from cassettes to streaming, rotary phones to smartphones. I always keep my hands and my mind active by embracing whatever technology or cultural shift happens. I'm in a very unique situation because I have a very young daughter. She is just 4 years old, and she'll ask me, Dad, did they have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when you were a kid? And I'll say, No, we did not have that. And she'll say, Why? And I'll say, It hadn't been invented yet. Somebody hadn't thought of the idea. And she'll ask me, well, how did they do that? And I'll explain the whole process. Well, somebody had to come up with the concept for a show, and somebody had to create the characters and come up with how they looked, and somebody had to draw the figurines and write the scripts to the show and all of that. And I'll explain to her every day. I'll explain to her, look, when I was a kid, I wasn't able to just turn on YouTube and, put in whatever cartoon I want to watch, and boom, there's the cartoon. I said we had 3 channels of TV, and you were lucky if on one of those channels there was something that you could tolerate. The reality is this. You had what, one day a week where they would put cartoons on for a couple of hours on a few stations. We didn't have a lot to keep us sated, kind of like modern day generations have. And we spent a lot of time. I mean, for me personally, as a kid, I didn't have mom and dad at home with me. I spent a majority of my time alone. I learned how to cook. I learned how to clean. I learned how to fend for myself. When you hear the term latchkey kids, that was very much as soon as I was old enough to be able to navigate the bathroom and know not to touch a hot stove. I was pretty much on my own. And those skills, those basic human skills, have carried me through life. And the reality is, Gen X, we value our independence because we were independent. We were independent, generally, a lot of us at a very young age. And we also value creativity. And as you can see back there, I've got my guitars and I'm really into music. And I'm very thankful that I was able to have a career playing music and being creative. And that's something that Gen X, I mean, look, because I'm able to embrace technology, because I'm able to create music, and I've kept my mind active, and I've always adapted to whatever has come along. And that's something that us Gen Xers have done all along through time. Because I've been able to do that, I'm now able to have a YouTube channel and navigate the technology, because Man, for some, if you haven't kept up with technology, it can easily leave you in the dust. But, us Gen Xers, we embraced everything that came along. And, my daughter will ask me about video games. Well, did they have, this game when you were a kid? I said, no, when I was a little kid, we had Pong. And that was it. And I think maybe Atari Vision or something came along a little bit after that. And then, it wasn't till my 20s when I had a girlfriend who bought me a Sega Genesis. And I don't even know why. I think it was a birthday present. I don't remember why, but as it turned out, I ended up being like an apartment sitter for her apartment a lot. And I think she thought, well, this will give him something to do while he's here. So, you know what? It was a great gift. But until that time, yes, I had gone to arcades and played video games, but that was the first time that I had a real console and been able to do something like that. So, my daughter now is 4 and she's got amazing ability with playing games, playing video games. But I also have great ability playing video games. And as it is now, I am better than her at video games. But she will surpass me, I am sure, very quick because she has adapted very quickly. The reality is, Gen X, man, we've learned a lot along the way. We've learned not to sweat the small stuff. Now, I was a huge Van Halen fan as a kid, and I can remember David Lee Roth saying in an interview, he said, um, there's two rules to being in a rock and roll band. And the first rule is don't sweat the small stuff, man. And the second rule is it's all small stuff. And that is the reality, man. We have learned to handle a lot. We have dealt with so much in our generation, and we have adapted probably more than any generation. And let me explain that. you know, I know there's a lot of people that rag on boomers, and man, I am very close. I'm right on the edge of being either a Gen Xer or a boomer, but I am a Gen Xer. But people rag on boomers because they're technologically challenged, and yeah, it can become overwhelming a bit when new technology comes out and you're trying to figure out something. But I think for Gen Xers, this is life is just one big Rubik's Cube. And we sit there and we turn it and we twist it and we think about it. And we're able to adapt to new technology because we realize it's just a matter of turning and thinking. And life is a lot like that. But man, boomers may have some issues with technology. Not all of them, but some may have because you know what? They didn't have that gradual creep into technology that us Gen Xers did, and us being able to, kind of, flow through it and learn through it as it went. Now, for younger generations that just may happen to be listening to this video or watching this video, the reality is this. My daughter will ask me, well, did you have this and did you have that? I said, look, when I was a kid, I couldn't just go, I want to hear this song and put it, on my phone and listen to it. When I was a kid, if I wanted to hear a song, I had to own the record. And, or, back in the day, we bootlegged songs by waiting till the radio station played it and then trying to hit record as fast as you could to be able to capture that song on a cassette. And that way you could play it over and over again. But man, yeah, I would hop on a bike if I heard something, a new band on MTV, and I was like, I just have to go hear this. I would hop on my bike and I would bike 3 miles into town to be able to, buy this song. And I would have to take money that I had earned myself to buy it, and very early on, man, look, our parents back in the day were a lot tougher on us. If I wanted something when I was a kid, I remember asking for an amplifier when I was a kid. My mother just literally says, get in the car. And I got in the car and she drove me to Mama Steve's House of Pancakes. And she knew the owner there, and she walked me into the office. This was not prompted or anything. She walked me into the office, said, "Hey, my son wants to buy an amplifier. Can you give him a job?" And I think I was like 13 years old. I wasn't old enough to drive, but I was old enough to do work, and I had done work. As a kid, we grew up. We had an apartment above a restaurant that my mom managed. And if the dishwasher didn't show up that day for work, the phone would ring upstairs. Brad, I need you to come down here and help. And I would be, 11 years old, 12 years old, and I'd be in an old school kitchen with no electronic dishwasher, hand washing hundreds of dishes. Old school, no gloves, bleach water. Back in the day, you put a certain amount of bleach in the water, and I'd be hands deep cleaning, dishes, and I would do it all day. And so I began dreading, those random calls early in the morning, or if I wasn't at school, there was a chance on a Saturday or Sunday that I would have to pitch in and help. And so I learned the value of hard work. I knew what it was like to not have somebody around 24/7, having to fend for myself, learning to cook for myself, learning how to take care of things, handle little situations that would pop up, little emergencies, not flying off the handle if something goes awry. Just putting your head down and dealing with it. There are badass survival skills that our Gen X generation just developed growing up the way we had to growing up. We're independent, we're creative, we're authentic in a way that younger generations, if they really knew what we had to go through, they would admire the lessons from our life that everyone can benefit from, like not sweating the small stuff or finding humor in the chaos. That is a powerful lesson. We have endured much chaos as a generation. We have seen the coming and going of so many administrations in the world, in our own country, and we can find the humor in it all. Because the reality is, we have come out the other end. We are survivors. We are Gen X. We are here and we are strong.